It being 6:07, we'll call this meeting of the Board of Adjustment to order. First item of business would be roll call. So Ken Anderson.
Here.
Dana Chomi.
Here.
Ken Visker.
Here.
And Larry Hafner is absent. Second item of business would be the election of chair and vice chair for the remainder of 2018. If you recall, at the January meeting, we elected chairpersons just for that meeting because we knew there was some
Temporary.
some temporary appointments and some new appointments coming.
I remember.
Larry has indicated his willingness to serve as chair if he were to be nominated and elected. And we would also need a vice chair.
So move. That's the best way to do it when they're absent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ken first, who seconded?
Was there a second?
Ken did.
Ken.
Didn't you, Ken? You seconded it?
A motion on the table to elect Larry Hafner as Board of Adjustment Chair for 2018. Any comment? Discussion?
Question.
Yes.
No, calling the question.
Oh,
Means
calling.
vote.
Oh,
Let's
vote. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Open up for nominations for vice chair for the remainder of 2018. Note that Larry is typically very punctual and studious in his attendance to these meetings. The vice chair would only need to act in
Tonight.
tonight, certainly, but in it,
I guess I would like Dana.
Second.
motion and a second for Dana Chomi to serve as vice chair for the Board of Adjustment. Discussion. None. All in favor, say aye.
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 Can I vote
Opposed?
for myself? Aye.
Motion carries. Dana Chomi will serve as the vice chair. You have copies of the agenda in your packets. Motion to approve the agenda as written.
So move.
Second.
I'll second.
And I'll finish this one, but I guess I should hand off to you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then Dan, I'll let you.
Okay. You've already done the roll call, so we can eliminate that second on the list. I'm going by an outline we have in front of us. So
Okay.
I haven't done this very much, so bear with me out there, okay? Thank you, I appreciate it. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? We got them all on there? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, have you noticed any corrections? And Ken, I know Ken just started, so you probably just got them, huh?
I just saw it last night.
Yeah.
I move we approve the minutes.
I've seen the minutes myself. Can I second them as the chair or vice chair? Or do you want Ken to? They look good.
Would you be willing to?
I have no idea what was on, so.
He wasn't here at the last
Yeah,
meeting.
it's
That's
true.
the problem.
We don't seem to have another option, so I suppose you would
I
go
was
ahead
here
and do
last
it.
meeting, and the minutes are in good order. I'll just second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Okay. What's the next thing? What staff?
Guidelines to public testimony.
I would move that we forego the guidelines for public testimony this evening in light of the fact that we have very little public here. They all seem to
All
be
right.
in support of the application.
Okay, will you read the hearings that was posted in the paper? Is that correct?
Yep. Please take notice that an application was received from the following person for a variance of setback requirements. The application is from Anthony Cook of Winnebago Township. A hearing on this application will be held at the Houston County Commissioners Room, City of Caledonia, 6 p.m. on Thursday, March 22nd. This was advertised on March 7th of this year.
Okay.
So at this point, we are looking to recess the meeting
Okay.
and open the public
I
hearing.
will ask for a motion to recess this BOA meeting and open it to a public hearing to consider the application of the applicants.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Yep, second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. At this time, does anybody member have any wish to recuse himself from, because of conflict of interest concerning this request?
No.
What do we do now?
Now I'll cover just the basics of it, and then
Okay.
the applicant will
Go right
fill in
ahead.
the blanks.
Thanks. Do we have them introduce themselves, so we know who we're talking to yet?
Sure.
They just came up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta get up on him a little bit.
Would
for
you
it to
please
pick up.
introduce yourself?
I'm Jennifer Weldon, and I'm Tony's fiance,
My name's Anthony Cook.
Okay.
the owner of the parcel.
Okay.
So this is
Thanks.
a situation that you've seen before
Yeah.
on the Board of Adjustment. It's a property split of an existing farmstead whereby the house is, the goal is to separate the house from the ag buildings. Often these old farmsteads are situated in a way where you don't have the distance required to do that and still comply with the setbacks of an ag district. In this case, the split had occurred. We became aware of the split and worked with the applicants to prepare this application. This is one of those farmsteads where there's not a way to split the house off from the ag buildings and have those 50-foot setbacks. There's some proposed parcel lines that they'll be presenting to you tonight that would later be surveyed in. There has been a survey, however, the survey resulted in a parcel that's not compliant in many places. The proposed lines are done in a way that only requires a variance from one building, so it's the least number of variances that you could draw the lines and still need.
It's a variance from a building or a property line?
Building from a
Both.
property line, yeah.
Oh, the
so-
house from the property line.
Yeah,
Yes, it is the house.
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
The residence from the outbuilding is a 70-foot distance.
Yeah.
Instead of 100.
These applicants are looking to bring their parcel back into compliance, and they would also be doing some additions and building on the home in the future, which necessitates the parcel to be brought into compliance. If you flip through your staff reports, there's several documents that were presented by the applicant, but the third page is the color map. This was prepared by staff. It helps you to visualize what they're intending to do. The blue lines on this map are the existing parcel lines that were surveyed in when the split was done late last year. The green area is approximately the proposed parcel that they would have surveyed and then record with the county, replacing the blue parcel. It would have a
Incorporated with the blue parcel or
the
totally
blue,
separate?
total separate. The blue
The
parcel
blue-
would,
The green does not have an access to the highway,
correct. It would have a 33-foot easement.
so it would include a easement to the highway then?
Correct. Yep.
Is that legal?
Yep. We tweaked the ordinance 2 years ago, I think it was, to allow for easement accesses for various reasons. But we were getting a lot of very funny shaped parcels that were kind of hourglass shaped or maybe pedestal shaped, just to get the highway frontage requirement
Used to be a requirement on frontage,
of 150 feet.
but that's gone.
Now it is a 33-foot owned or a perpetual recorded easement with the county. The purpose is to be sure that they have access, and in this case, they would.
Okay.
So the blue parcel would be no more. The green,
So it would basically be just a driveway roughly,
approximately, that would be,
approximately. I mean, just to get the center line
Correct.
16 feet on either side of a center line of that road.
Yep.
yeah, and that's
I
the
mean,
minimum
roughly,
that the state requires access for, so that's why
Okay.
we have the
Yeah.
two
I
rod.
don't-
being
My
granted.
understanding is we just do that through an attorney.
Yep.
The easement with the
Yeah,
sister, yeah.
Permanent easement is
Yep.
basically what you're dealing with.
Yep, and record it with the county, it would
Yeah.
probably be part of your survey.
Right.
You'll notice some building, the house is within the green parcel here, and there's another outbuilding there that would remain. Just to the north of the house and a tad to the west, there's a garage that the adjacent property owner, which happens to be the applicant's sister, has indicated a willingness to remove that building, and that would
The
then.
building that's basically slightly crossed by the green line,
Correct, that would be.
that would be removed
Yeah.
Yeah.
eventually.
So then you would have your 50-foot setbacks from all the buildings within the green parcel, and then all the buildings from within the, what I'll call the parent parcel here, the larger parcel that surround everywhere except for the building to the south of the driveway there. It's a white roofed building, and there's about 70 feet approximately between the
Okay.
corner of that building and the corner of the house. So you can't draw a line there that gives you
To
50
get
feet.
Right.
Ken, if you go 2 pages ahead, you'll see the garage you're taking out.
Yep, I
Did you see
remember
that?
seeing that when I was,
It'll show the garage. See it?
Is it 50 feet between the green line and that building that you just talked about?
The garage.
No, the building to the south,
to the south,
between this bit distance right here? Huh,
Oh, between the county yard and,
Yes.
That's 50 feet.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, So-
Well, it will be, however it gets surveyed.
gets-
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's
it
130
was surveyed a couple years ago.
something. There's
And the
plenty of
building-
room to make it 50 feet on both sides,
okay.
between the silo and that building and our house.
Yeah, further on that they have a page that they submitted that show the distances between the house and the existing outbuildings. And on there you can see that they have the necessary distance for all of them except for the
Oh, yeah.
outbuilding to the southwest.
okay.
121 there, 129.
We looked at various different ways of achieving this, and without removing additional buildings, there's no way to do it without a variance. Both the house and the building to the southeast still have useful life in them,
Yep.
so it seems
And is
maybe
there a
addressed.
reason
So it's
to,
basically just, the problem is that you need the variance with that
Just
white
the-
shed and the house.
Just the one
Because
building.
it's only 70 feet between, or,
Yep.
and you need 100 foot between, and you could do it.
Precisely, yes.
Okay.
and is there a reason to have the line closer to the house as opposed to closer to that building?
It could go either way.
I'm asking,
Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't.
We talked about it.
doesn't matter to you?
It doesn't really make any difference
Okay.
which one asks for it. I think that these folks are local, so maybe that's why they're
Yeah.
doing it.
If it was the other way around, the other property owner would be here. Is that the
Right.
deal?
Correct,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Is there
That would have been
no
slightly more
problem if
complicated
you-
for us to achieve. We could have done it, but.
I got it.
Okay, if you put the 50 foot so that this building was the only one out of compliance, then you wouldn't have so much problem with renovation of your house, I suppose.
The renovations we're doing actually won't have any bearing on this variance at all,
Okay.
because they're going off the back side of the house where we have plenty of
That
space.
makes sense, to
Yeah.
realizing that.
We just don't want to put money into renovating it until we're sure that everything's cleared.
Right, right.
As you understand.
Gotta get rid of that puppy.
Do you know approximately when that building was built?
The
Which shed that
The
says-
outbuilding, 65. The house was built in the 40s, and this other outbuilding was built in 1965.
Okay.
So
That's the
it's-
garage that was built in,
The garage was
Well, the
built,
block, we don't even know for sure on that, that's pretty old, I think. The house was built in 48, and then what I call the man cave, which is kind of close to the harvester there, it's like rectangular white.
the one we're seeking the variance with, yeah, that was built
I
in
guess,
65.
the one that was just 70 feet away that's in 65 built?
65, yeah.
Okay.
So they've been there for quite a while.
What type of construction?
That's just car siding, what do we want to?
What?
The outbuilding, you mean?
Yeah, the south building.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
some beams and some car siding and steel on the roof and.
Oh,
That's what
frame,
it's for.
frame construction or of a pole building?
It's frame, I think.
Frame,
yeah.
okay.
It's pretty stupid.
You have anything else to add?
Not if you don't have any additional questions.
Do you have any additional comments, applicants?
I don't think so, unless you have
I
additional
guess,
concerns.
is there anybody here from the public that'd like to say anything?
Now, I do have a letter from
Bob's in support.
We do have a letter you just threw in today.
yeah, this came in, and it's very similar to a letter that was in your
I
packet
see
with
that.
one sentence added. This is from the public, and it would be also the adjacent landowner.
Christine Cook.
Yep, in support of the application. And the addition to the letter that's in your packets is her saying that she's willing to have the current garage standing on the property removed. So that's the garage to the northwest.
Okay. Everyone had a chance to read that? That letter we just got?
I've read it.
There's no disagreement.
I have no concern on that.
Right. I guess if nothing else, I'll now entertain a motion to conclude the public hearing and reconvene the Board of Adjustment meeting.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just for the record, has any member visited the site?
Yeah.
You did?
I did.
Good. Any remarks?
They need to get their puppy under control.
Get their
That's
puppy-
for sure.
Puppy problems.
I know, I have a puppy.
It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress.
I
I wanted to
know.
bring her along with. She said I can bring her into the courtroom.
I told him no. I told him no.
She's really sweet. She gives you a whack.
Yes.
Okay.
Steal your shoe.
I guess if there's no more discussion, I'll call what do I call for your, no. Have we gone through the findings yet?
Nope. That's the,
We will go through ask for the staff to do the findings.
there's 6 findings that are required to grant a variance. Each one of them needs to be approved by the board in order for the variance to be granted. I'll ask each of you to vote yes or no on each finding and provide a brief reason for your vote. First, that the variance request is in harmony with the intent and purpose of official controls. And I'll start with Ken.
Seems okay to me. I mean, I don't see any other way it can be operated to do what the people want done. It's not a problem.
And Dana?
Yeah, I agree with that. They have seemed to have done their due diligence to get this variance.
Ken?
I would yield to you. It is, from your perspective, is there anything in here that would be in conflict with official controls?
Well, other than the
Other than the
setback
variance?
requirements.
Other than the setback?
Yeah, I think in the staff report, I indicate an objective of rejuvenating or continuing to use existing farmsteads rather than create new building sites elsewhere and perhaps ag land.
If that's the only issue, then, in my opinion, no. I mean, yes, it does.
Yes?
Yes, it does. What's the question?
Is it in harmony with
Yes.
the
With
purpose?
the
Yes.
intent and purpose. We're going,
Okay, secondly, that there are practical difficulties in complying with the official controls, and the proposed use of the property is reasonable. Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. And in coming up with these, you can look to the staff report, and also the applicant has provided some perspective on these questions as well.
everything appears like the staff report, by the staff report, that they have worked together to be in compliance as much as possible.
Dana?
Yeah, it looks like they've worked with you on, to figure out these ways of getting it done. And, yeah, I believe they've, like I said last time, they've done their due diligence.
Ken?
It's obviously reasonable to me that to separate the house from the ag buildings and the rest of the property is a reasonable request, and this is the best way to do it.
Thank you. Thirdly, the variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property and not created by the property owner. And I don't mean to put you on the spot. Ken, you want to start this one?
Okay. Well,
Ken, too?
it's certainly not created by the property owner. These buildings have been in existence for a long, long time, and it's a situation that's unique to that property. You can't do it any other way, and so without creating this issue of the setback, and so it would obviously be a special condition or circumstance.
Yeah, for me, I agree that because the buildings were built before some of the zoning stuff occurred, we are trying to write things now the way it should be. I say yes.
I guess I concur with Dana. I mean, both buildings, in all probability, before we had any zoning, at least agricultural buildings were not part of that zoning at the early point, so that shouldn't be a problem there.
All right, thank you. Fourth, the variance cannot be alleviated by a reasonable method other than a variance, and the minimum variance, which would alleviate the practical difficulty, is sought. Dana?
Yeah, I see they've agreed to remove an existing building to alleviate that the 50-foot setback for each building, so, yeah, I say yes.
Mr. Visker?
They've obviously worked with you. I'm going to yield again to the fact that this has been studied, and this is the reasonable way to, and the only way to separate the house from the rest of the property, and so it can't be alleviated in any other way.
I guess they're both they're continuing to make use of quality existing buildings, and I think we want to encourage that, continue to use what's available.
Thank you. Number 5, the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality nor substantially impair property values or the public health, safety, or welfare in the vicinity. I'll just throw that out there for whoever wants to.
That's a no. It will not, what do you want there? It will not.
It will not, so yes is.
It won't change the
Yeah.
basic premise of
Oh,
the
yeah, it's a
property.
yes. It will not do those things, so it would be a yes. You gotta put these questions in a way that makes sense.
That's all the,
Yes, it will not.
Yes, it will not. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that they're written in a way where if you respond yes, that means you're in favor of granting.
I'm in agreement.
Because you
I
don't
would
wanna
say,
do it.
I would say yes.
on all of the variance they're asking for is on their own property, doesn't affect any neighbors, per se. Is that correct?
Yeah, the variance is on their own property. It affects the neighbors insofar as their building will be closer than 50 feet to the neighboring property line, but we have that letter
Yeah.
from the neighbor.
We
and
have no objection from the neighbor, so I say yes. Ken?
I think it's appropriate variance. The only concern I would have is the effect on the other property. If you have need buildings on the, or the livestock facility, then you need a variance again
If they were
to expand anything. You have now a new property line.
that is true. I think they would have ample area to expand to the
They
north.
have other areas to expand without infringing, but that does create a restriction.
Is that restriction enough to, are you,
Not for me at this
so
time.
you're a yes, okay. And I guess I'll note on that topic as well that we do have a feedlot setback from house and feedlot quarter-mile apart. However, it is not applied to direct family members. So
Okay.
because in this case, it's siblings that are owning them, there's no setback that's applied.
There's a feedlot on
The
this property.
interesting with that question is what happens if somehow the sale, someone decides to sell it to a non-related member? Because this is now a separate parcel.
Yeah.
You know, and then you run into the, right now, there's no intention of that, but I have heard in other areas where everything seemed fine, and then all of a sudden it's sold to an outside party, and it wasn't so fine.
Yeah, if that were to occur, that would create a non-conforming situation as well.
As a Board of Adjustment, we don't anticipate what happens in the future. Do we vote when we're granting variances?
Well, it's
Do we
certainly.
think down the road like that? Ken's new and we're trying.
I think that that's precisely what you're doing when you're assessing if it will change the
Future,
the essential character of the locality or impair property values. You are looking in present forward, not backwards.
I suppose that would just have to be disclosed to the potential buyer if there were ever a sale, that variance is in place, and they could make a decision about whether they'd want to buy the property, knowing that was the case.
Yeah, I think given the proximity of the buildings, that any potential buyer would be very aware that there's a feedlot
they would,
nearby and that it's
Yes, they would.
it's a shared driveway.
It's not a mystery when you pull up. That's for sure.
Sure, well, you know.
Yeah.
Is there a registered feedlot on this, on the adjacent property?
Yes, there is. Yep.
And what happens when this is sold to a non-family member? What kicks in?
But both the feedlot and the house would be non-conforming with the ordinance. You know, they can exist that way, but expansions would prove difficult in that scenario.
In either case?
In either case, correct. So perhaps a variance would be sought, but I guess you're going into that knowing that that's the situation.
Right, yeah.
And then the other property owner is aware of that and knows
She
that
is.
as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She has no intent on selling at this point.
Well, it's not a question of selling, it's a
Yeah.
question of expanding. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the feedlot can't expand either at that point, as I understand it.
Well, as long as a relative, an immediate relative occupies the house, then there's no
There's no
setback.
problem.
It would only
But
be
if
if
the house is sold,
Yeah.
That's a nice one to know.
then if the house is sold to a non-family member,
that would create that setback
compliant.
requirement, and every building on that feedlot would be.
What if the situation arose, and this is real speculation, if the house was sold to someone joining the partnership who may not be a family member? I mean, that's a possibility for any large operation. It could be a herdsman who wants to be a part owner.
I don't I would have to research that, but I think that
that then it would probably be in compliance,
I don't think,
because he has part interest in the feedlot.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, if they had part interest in the feedlot, but if they were
Not
simply,
necessarily always a family member, because sometimes you can do it outside of family also.
well, if they were a co-owner and not co-owner of the adjacent feedlot, then I don't believe a setback would be required.
Okay,
If they were
that's what I
simply
was
an
getting at,
employee, I don't think we have language to automatically.
And I don't expect that to happen, but
It would be much more difficult if a non-family member occupied that house to do a variety of things on either parcel, because both of them would be looking for that quarter mile.
Sure. Okay. Number 6?
The request is not a use variance and shall not have the effect of allowing any use that is not allowed in the zoning district, permit a lower degree of flood protection than the regulatory flood protection elevation, or permit standards lower than those required by state law.
Yes.
And I guess I'll just say that there is no floodplain on either parcel.
Yep.
And that it is not a use variance, it's
an
an
area
area variance.
that's not an
I'll
issue
see.
at all, other than the variance.
Well, use variance would be them asking to do
We
something
could
that's.
accept that premise real easily.
Yes, yeah, I would be
That's
asking to do something that's prohibited in the district, where not a reduction of a set
I
a
say yes.
standard.
But I agree, yes.
That concludes the required findings.
Okay, is staff proposing any conditions to these board considerations?
I am, yes.
Okay.
Proposing 3 conditions, and be interested in any input from the applicant on these as well. Firstly, that a new survey shall be completed based on the proposed property lines submitted in the application materials, and that the survey must be filed with the county either before the issuance of a future zoning permit or future zoning permits, or as a condition placed on future zoning permits. And that would be a decision the zoning office would make based on the amount of how far out the surveyors are booked. You know, if they
I
could.
actually have him booked for Tuesday.
Oh, well, then it would probably be
Sounds good.
required before the permits.
That's an A.
He'll be out shortly.
Okay, good, good.
Secondly, that the existing garage to the north of the house identified for removal within the application materials shall be removed prior to the issuance of future zoning permits on parcels 160192001, which is the parcel in question with the house. So we're saying that even though that's on a different parcel,
Yep.
that building needs to go or be conditioned to go on the shall be removed or shall be a condition placed on future zoning permits. So if it couldn't be removed prior to the permit being issued, the permit would say that by such and such date.
I was gonna say, so if he comes to apply for construction permits through the county, and it's not down yet, we just have to have a date set by you, basically?
Correct,
So
the
we'll
intent-
be down by this time, which would be more beneficial for us, just because we'd be able to use it to store construction supplies while we're doing stuff, and then take it down when we're done. But whatever you guys decide we can do.
So
Either way, it'll
the
come
garage
out.
that they're going to demolish,
Yeah.
if they're looking to put an addition on here in the next month,
Yes.
does that need to be removed first, or could we have it as a condition of the permit, which gets a little tricky because it's not on their property? But-
Although Chrissy will be willing to write a letter for whatever you need.
What's the remedy if it's not removed, if you've already issued the building permit?
We have an option of a certificate of occupancy or certificate of compliance for any building, so we could require, that on the construction rules, and that say that it can't be occupied before.
That's fine, that'll work for me, as long as there's a remedy.
A plan. Sure.
So, you can use it to store, but you can't occupy the house until it's gone.
Well,
Is
they're
that-
occupying the house, so it
We
would
live
only
in
be
the
the
house.
additions that they,
Yeah, we already live in the house.
Okay,
We're just
So-
adding on and fixing up.
okay.
So-
Can't occupy the additions
Right.
unless it's gone.
Oh, okay,
That's understandable?
Yeah,
Well-
understand?
yeah. We can try.
We gotta-
that
The
might be
addition's not
difficult.
that big. It might be difficult because the
Yeah.
addition is just adding on, we're just pushing a wall back a few feet, so we will technically be, it will all be the
Yep,
same
yep.
space, it will just be slightly larger, and newer inside. but,
Alternatively, we could request I don't know what it would be, a letter or communication from the owner of that other parcel to be submitted with the application, you know, indicating that they will be removed by such and such date.
And if it's not?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I don't know what the enforcement mechanism there. I think the best thing we would have would be that certificate of compliance with or certificate of occupancy, which would still be, you know, not practical to enforce, but it would be.
It would be there until the garage was removed. And obviously, it would be a matter of record, so if anybody wanted to buy it,
That building is on record.
they'd have a problem. Okay, that's good enough. As long as there's something to enforce that, I'm satisfied with it.
Certificate of compliance.
Right,
is the
okay,
terminology,
that's
so.
good.
What we're trying to avoid is not having to be a variance because of that building again.
Right.
That makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, that one we could, that would be a hard one to
How we get out
get
of that
past.
one.
We can do whatever you need. It would just be handy to keep it for supplies in the next couple months and then take it out.
That's reasonable. As long as we've got
I think we can
a way,
trust.
yeah. As long as we've got a way to enforce it, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so give me a second here. So the condition number 2 now would read, the issuance of future zoning permits on parcel 160192001 shall require a certificate of compliance prior to occupancy, which shall not be issued prior to the removal of the garage identified on the application materials.
That works for me.
Yep. You understand?
Explain exactly what you want from me.
You cannot, I think what it means, you can't occupy it until you take that building down. Correct. Is that right, Aaron?
You know, your question is because it's an addition, how do you not occupy it? You're not gonna have a certificate of compliance
Okay.
on that property, so that any future owner wouldn't be able
Right,
to
okay.
purchase it.
So we
unless
can
they-
keep it and use
So
it and then
all
knock it
we
down.
need is some teeth to
We just won't
the
have the
removal.
compliance certificate.
And I'm satisfied with,
Yeah. Okay.
we only
Yeah,
got
we're-
one tooth, but it's a pretty sharp tooth.
It makes sense.
Yeah, okay, I get that.
One more tweak here, though. We only want to require the certificate of compliance up until the point in which the garage is removed.
Right.
2 years from now, if they want to build a gazebo, we wouldn't apply the same standard, right? So that this requirement shall cease
So
upon the
that
removal of
garage
the
has to be out
garage.
of there by
Right.
then.
Right,
Yeah,
and once the
that's
garages go
what
off
it's
or gone, that's over.
Yep, once it's gone, we're done with that issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason I'm fussy about it is because you don't have any control over the garage. It's someone else's garage. And even though we've got assurances that it will be removed, we don't have any control over them.
Right,
So what I'm trying to do is put a control in there that we can put on you
right,
and give you the responsibility for getting it done.
makes sense.
All right, so is everyone clear on that? Do you want me to read it again, or are we good?
I'm good.
You understand?
Okay.
Yep.
The last condition would be that parcel 160192001, must have access to Camp Winnebago Road through a perpetual easement at least 33 feet wide, recorded with the county.
You looking for a motion?
No.
No.
No, not
Well,
yet.
yes, I am. I'm looking for a motion from,
Yeah, I entertain a motion to adopt the findings as earlier stated.
So move. With those
Conditions,
conditions. Are we, we're
yeah.
we're adopting the
Very fine.
findings. No, we're just adopting the
Is there a
findings.
second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now, I guess we're at the point where we're going to entertain a motion to either approve or deny the request. Your motion with the conditions that we've already talked about.
So move.
I'll second that.
All
To approve.
to approve?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Your variance has been,
Congratulations.
congratulations. We got through that.
You got your carpenter coming tomorrow?
Now Aaron doesn't have to talk to me every day anymore.
Say carpet?
Carpenter.
Oh, yeah, well, I don't know, pretty soon, but I was gonna say there won't be
He's
any
like-
carpet left because the puppy's been using the bathroom. So I'm just in the morning.
That's one good thing we're doing construction.
Yeah.
Let's tear everything out. Yes.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Sounds
Um,
good. Thank you.
You have no other business?
Is there any old
No.
business? Do you have something you want to talk about tonight?
yeah,
New, that might under new business.
we're looking for
I think we need a whiskey. I don't even drink whiskey, I just,
Wow, that wasn't that tough, was it?
Thank you, people, very much.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Well done.
And so can I just clarify, so when the contractor does come to apply for his permits for additions and such for here at the building, he should do that after the resurvey?
Yep.
Okay, so resurvey should be done, turned into you guys, and then he can come apply anytime after that.
Yep.
Correct, okay. Just wanted to make sure I have that right. Okay,
You got
thank
it.
you.
Yep, yeah.
I guess we do have some business to talk about.
And really quickly, and we're not looking for any action on it, just potentially ideas. We've been having planning commission hearings that are going late into the evening. We are considering putting something into place that would allow us to, say, cap or end at a specific time. Say 10 o'clock would be our end time, and then resume, the following Monday
Reconvene.
evening or something. So we would advertise the hearing saying, hearing will be held on Thursday, March 22nd. In the event that the hearing runs later than whatever time we decide would be the late time, it will be continued on the following Monday or the following Tuesday or whatever date we pick. So we wouldn't have to re-advertise. If right now we have to re-advertise 10 days ahead of a new hearing. So that pushes it out usually to the next month. But if we wanted to act quickly, you would still push it out a week and a half.
And why are you asking us?
Well, this potentially, if we did this for the planning commission, we would probably also do the same thing for the Board of Adjustment. And that, I don't think it's good for me or for any of you to be here till 1 in the morning.
No,
You would lose me.
my
Yeah,
mind shuts
yeah.
down after 10 o'clock.
Yep.
Isn't there a way to, and this is because of public comment, or why are they running so late?
I mean, it's not all public comment. There've been some complex applications that have
Okay.
come into there where there's a lot to go through, and numerous. So it's not just one hearing. You would have, maybe 4 hearings in one evening.
Okay, gotcha. So the reason I asked that question was there a way to time limit public comment or something? But if that's not the issue, then never mind. It's just the fact that these are complicated issues.
And public comment has not been restricted in those settings. thus far this year, I think that the practice of the planning commission chair has been to allow comment and as much as possible up until it becomes a problem, and it hasn't become a
good,
problem
good.
thus far.
You know, if that makes sense to you, it makes sense to me.
So the reconvening has to be done within a week or 3 days?
10 days.
How long you said Monday or Tuesday?
No, yeah, we would, imagine we meet on
is
a
there a
Thursday
legal-
night and we decide that if there's a carryover from that meeting, we're gonna handle it the following Wednesday night. The advertisement in the newspaper and the advertisements that are mailed out to the neighbors and to you all and the applicant would say that here's the day of the meeting, and if for whatever reason it is not concluded by this time, it will be resumed on this day in this location.
And that'll comply with the law?
Well, once we decide on exactly what we want to do, then we would ensure that it does,
If
but I
there's a
don't.
10-day minimum, you know, you really don't have 10 days to re-notify people if it has to go the next week.
Well, the notification would come in one
One
notice.
notification.
Yep.
Yeah, you would say,
So you
Is it-
basically continue the hearing if it goes beyond, if you aren't done it by 10 o'clock.
Yep.
Then you don't actually, you just recess the hearing to a week later, and it's a continuing of that same hearing.
Perhaps it would be a week later, yeah. So we would not send a second notice out. That information would be contained in the initial notice. You know, just tell people that if this goes long and we hit our closing time, that you've already been notified that it will be resumed on this date in this location at this time.
And you think that'll comply?
I think so, yeah. I
I
mean, we
think-
would run it through the county attorney.
Check with the
If
attorney.
if
County
it complies, that's fine. I don't see any
is there
problem.
any days that are conflicting for you? Like Tuesdays do not work for me.
Tuesdays are-
Like, does anybody serve on a board like on a certain day of the week? So if you had to go the following week, is there I know
The only
Tuesdays
one I
won't
get
work for
in
me.
conflict with is
Tuesdays will not.
even number months, but it's, I think, the first Thursday,
Oh, yeah, you're on
the extension committee.
yeah, I remember that.
And I would be in touch with you all and all the planning commission members to
Okay.
try to figure out what
Good.
the most logical
Okay,
carryover time is.
Wednesday's my golf day.
Yeah,
Well, we're talking maybe the following Monday.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes we don't want a lot of time to pass.
Monday's good for me.
The other,
Fine.
the other tricky part of this is that specific times for the starts of hearings are now advertised. This one was advertised as starting at 6 o'clock, and the appeal that was postponed had a 6:15
Yes.
starting time.
It's not enough. 15 minutes is very hard to get done in.
You can't do it.
Can't do it.
Not the process that we have to go through, which is painful, and I don't know how to shorten that.
Yeah.
The question, though, is that would each, imagine you have 3 items on the agenda, 3 hearings on your agenda, and we start at 7 and go to 10. Would you allot each of them an hour and then cut them off wherever you happen to be after that hour passes? Or would you, if the first one goes to an hour and a half, then you complete it, go to the second one, and then just the third one gets bumped to the
It's
next?
not fair to that third applicant. To
That's
come and
true.
sit here all night
Oh.
and then not get a hearing.
So I guess I'm throwing that out there. If someone has some ideas, we're working with amongst ourselves to
Well,
try to come up with
If
an
you're gonna
idea.
have a contentious hearing, why couldn't you couldn't say just have one that night, if you're gonna have a long one, rather than try and get through 3 or 4.
Yeah, we
Could
could.
Yeah,
you-
that's probably the simplest one.
Administratively, could you say we only got time for one this month?
Would you be willing to meet more than once a month?
Yeah, we would maybe have to do that if that's the case.
Do we get paid?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the only time I've had to come for variance, there was someone else before me that did that one, and that was a short, and then you had to wait and wait. Everyone's waiting for the next hearing to start,
For the time to come.
the time to
Yeah.
come.
Yeah,
And it just seems like just a waste of time,
yep.
when everyone is just sitting there
Yeah.
with nothing to do.
Because if you go a half an hour each increment, you have to wait till that, say you 7:30, 8, you have
Right.
to wait. So the 15-minute time slots do make sense, but
Yeah,
Hard-
that's why
hard
they're
to stay
15,
in
because
that.
that allows you to start
And
right
I
away.
guess I understand where you have a time set, because if I have a 7:15, why do I need to be here at 6:30?
What if
Well, you
you,
wouldn't, right.
what if you put an overtime limit? So that you schedule them a half an hour apart, but if that 6:30 one goes long, at 6:45 you cut it off. And then you reschedule it.
That's-
You do a 15-minute or a half an hour, or I don't know, whatever number, you do a maximum overtime,
Yeah.
and then you go to the next one.
Yeah, I suggested 45 minutes max for a hearing, and then,
But just looking at what we did today, the 6:15 wouldn't have worked out. We would have been,
Oh, no, it never would have
we
worked.
never
out.
would have covered that in that. But part of it was we were organizing ourselves.
Yeah, we spent
Well, but what
10
I'm-
minutes getting there, or,
we could start earlier for the.
What I'm thinking is you go a 6:30. So the people are here ready to go at 6:30, and if we're done, we go. But if
Yeah.
this one takes a little more time, we have a 15-minute override or overtime, and then it's cut off, so that people aren't waiting. But you still have the
So it's
opportunity to,
advertised in the paper that
Yeah.
we're doing it.
Now, the downside to that is that carrying over, say, 3 or 4
minutes.
Yep.
that are started and you're carrying them all over to the next one,
Right.
you know, be optimal to be able to conclude and just bring one to the next hearing, but figuring out how you would treat the applicants in a fair manner is the
it
trick.
would have been hard to
But-
just say to these people, we're done, go home,
Yeah.
come back.
Yes.
I don't like that either.
Yeah.
That would have been awkward.
This was a relatively simple one, in my opinion.
Yes.
How long did we spend actually going through all the formalities? About at least a half hour.
Yeah.
More than that. It was.
I would say
It was
that's
about-
probably a pretty good estimate.
It was
And that's a
about
pretty
38
simple.
minutes.
When you have the application, you can pretty much tell whether, especially whether there are people who are coming in with
We
comments.
didn't have any public
throw
comment.
it on.
No public comment.
Sometimes, not all the time.
Not
Sometimes
all-
you're surprised.
Right.
Well, we don't have to solve this tonight. I'm just throwing it out there for
No,
a
I
discussion, and I'm
understand
going to be
that.
doing the same
And I
thing with
do
the planning
like-
commission.
Realistically, if you're sitting here for over 3 hours, you start losing
Yeah.
focus.
Yes, that's,
Yeah, it's fun to see what Fillmore County does.
I call
Keep it short.
Kelly. She's on the Winona Planning Commission.
yeah.
You obviously know somebody, but I can call her and find out.
Yeah.
You want me to do that?
Sure, I guess I'm looking for any
Okay.
ideas we can get, regardless where they come from, so.
Okay.
I
All
got a
right.
couple comments. A number of the site visits, Ken's really good at going there. I'd like to go there, but I'd like to call them and tell them I'm coming so they don't get really upset when they see a strange car coming down the driveway.
My experience,
I really-
Nina, is that they welcome you. They can't wait to talk to you.
I know, but they don't always know who I am coming. You know, what are you doing here? Seeing, looking at my property.
Well,
I'd like to do, I like that you do site visits, it's great, but
I always
kind of leery
provide
of that.
the application,
Numbers on the application.
Is
Yep.
it? Okay, now
Or-
call them.
I wouldn't worry about it because it's.
or if you wanted,
You're like a breath
if it
of
wasn't
fresh
there,
air.
I would be able to provide that.
Site
to
visits,
you.
I think, are very important to go to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can always give you the number, but it should be on the
I
application.
thought, I didn't look for it on this one, I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's Jeff.
Yeah, they're not on the staff report, but on the actual handwritten application.
Right here.
And the last comment I have is for you, Aaron, is that, could you put these maps up on the screens there and then highlight it with your red pointer? I've come in and visited you and I get more
Yeah.
out of looking at your computer when you say here's, and then when we're looking at a parcel, we're all looking there instead of trying to find, going like this.
Yeah, we're working on
Can we,
that.
Can we have that happen sometime?
Right now, that can only be done
Oh.
from there.
I think
The,
that would be so much better for me to watch it up
It would have
here.
been for me too.
Yeah, and then he's got
Then
a
you
pointer
can
where you can
point
follow.
out the issue instead of us having to.
I think that would really help us understand the parcels.
yeah, I've talked with IT about it. What they would like to do, and they would have to take it to the county board, but they'd like to put a projector on the ceiling here and a screen kind of above that whiteboard behind Holly.
We had that capability down at Justice Center. We did a couple meetings down there, and it
Yep.
was really nice.
Yeah.
And you could point to what we're looking at.
No, I agree. That's
And
very
it got-
helpful.
Got through my head.
Yeah. And I think that's probably not,
That's my.
I mean, it's not going to happen the next hearing probably, but it's probably not
It's
that
coming.
far off.
I'm glad you're working on it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Aaron. Good to know that you're on the wall and working on it. Okay?
So I go to this one. And I can't find anybody, and I finally find,
All right.
Mexicans, they don't speak a word of English.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to say?
Well, we had this Kruko Companies LLC postponed. Is there a rescheduled date, or is it just something working through on the staff right now?
There's not a, right now I would anticipate it being next month, but that's not set yet.
Nothing is in the works yet, for sure on that.
No, it's not a certainty that it would be next month. They extended it, we extended it 60 days, so our new deadline, I believe, is, I'm trying to think, is it,
You gave them until June.
so we have to act before June, but I don't anticipate that it would be June before we act. I think.
How is that gonna run when it's a question against you? Are you gonna not participate, or?
What?
They're disputing an administrative decision made by you, right?
Correct, yes.
How do we study for that? Can we ask you questions about it?
You know, I'm talking with the county attorney about that.
Okay.
He might be
This could be,
involved.
because I've never heard of this before.
We've done it one other time.
Yeah.
I guess I'm in the dark on that. I don't know what.
Can you talk
I don't-
about that now?
Can you talk about it at all, or?
That's, I guess right now it's been
I like what you-
postponed. You know, I gave a presentation to the county board. You could view that. And
When did you do that?
February perhaps
Which,
sometime.
what, was that the Winnebago quarry or the, what are we discussing? Is it
It's the Shuts Quarry.
Shuts quarry? Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that either.
Where's that one?
Right before the one back.
If I follow.
Oh, there's two of them on the same road?
On the map, if that's what it
Okay.
is, it's right next to the skyline.
So how are we gonna
Correct.
study for that? If we don't know what's going on.
Well,
We're gonna get hit blindsided, we're all gonna bam.
Hard to do site visits, there's no trespassing signs
Yeah, might be
everywhere.
prepared.
Yeah, I posed the same question to the county attorney, and we would perhaps ask the MCIT attorney for advice
Okay.
on
Well,
that
just
as
so
well.
MCIT, what's that?
Minnesota County's insurance.
Okay.
I'm not sure what
If we get sued, they have their attorney go to court for us.
And we're getting sued?
No. I've just said if.
Okay.
It's Jay Squires.
So this is something that will be clear to us when we sit down and talk about it, or do we need to talk to you ahead of time to get the information?
You know, at this point, it hasn't been determined whether I'm going to provide a staff report on this or not.
Oh, okay.
You would get some information from some source, certainly, whether it's myself or whether it's, you know, somebody else.
And we
That
will
hasn't been
get phone
determined.
calls from them. I guarantee it.
I welcome them. Okay.
Okay, entertain a motion to.
You like your job?
You
Who are you
asked
asking
me,
it?
you asked me this question with the cameras on?
Talking about the hall.
Speaking of the microphone.
Talking about the hall. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
No place I'd rather be.
Second,
Hey.
I'll second.
all in favor,
Yeah.
aye.
Hey,
We're adjourned.
yeah.